What was the Marshall Plan? The shorthand is that it was what rebuilt Western Europe after the Second World War. But it's a lot more complicated than that. This book attempts to lay out why it was needed in the first place, what it was, how it was negotiated, and finally, just what benefits did it have. So, let's start with the why. After the destruction of Europe in the Second World War, it was important to, yes, rebuild it. But it was more complicated than that. There was also the question of what exactly to do with Germany, and more specifically, what would become West Germany. This leads into the whole argument about just what started the Cold War and why and who was responsible and so on and so forth. This book does an excellent job at trying to describe both from the Western perspective, Washington, Paris, London, etc., as well as from Moscow. Although, naturally, if you're looking for a, shall we say, supportive one of the Eastern opposition, you should look elsewhere. Basically, the narrative describes in great detail that there was a Soviet concern that an industrialized Germany or Western Germany would be able to attack through the buffer zone that is the Eastern Bloc and get at Russia. While the Western Europeans and the US were more interested in developing the potential of what would become West Germany and be able to extract, at least on the part of the Europeans, the Benelux countries, France, the UK, reparations from Germany, if not quite on the World War I model. Naturally, there was also the question of how to restart the European economy, particularly the West European economy, and how to get capital flowing again. This is something that usually gets waved away when talking about the Marshall Plan and Reconstruction after the Second World War. But fortunately, we get into that in extreme detail. And I'm not an economics major, and I never was. So there's a lot here that I'm not really sure about. It all gets rather technical, balance of trade, payments, the gold standard, currencies being devalued, that sort of thing. And it makes sense what the author is saying, but I can't independently verify that it's right. We also get the political side of things, the isolationist tendency of the United States, which was demonstrated in the interwar period. In this case, essentially having to realize that it is beneficial to join the rest of the world and to help to guarantee European security. And then trying to build a model, a way to do this, and then to negotiate it to get everyone on side and the various horse trading that involved, while at the same time offering it to the Soviets, but knowing that for various political reasons the Soviets won't come in. And then developing the second step, which was independent of the economic side, but of course is an important linkage to it, that would be NATO and the NATO guarantee and all that. We do get a political history of the Berlin blockade and various attempts to talk things over and how they didn't really work. This is a very technical history, a very complex, dense history. I liked it, mostly because I think this is probably going to be the standard book on this for the foreseeable future, so I probably won't have to read another book on this topic again for a while, which is fine. It's not necessarily a fun read. I'm reading these books for pleasure. I'm far beyond the days when I was doing something academic with them. That being said, this goes in my like list, and it's something that I possibly may revisit, although considering the content And the dryness of the text, it's probably a 4 to 5 year book at most, unless I have some particular desire to go in and dig around in early Cold War history again. It should be noted that there is a closing section on the post-91 collapse of the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc, and a discussion of NATO expansion, which is interesting in light of certain current events, which I'm sure you all are aware of. The author basically points out that there was no guarantee ever that Russia was going to not have to deal with NATO expansion, that NATO never said they weren't going to expand beyond Germany, that sort of thing. A conventional history of things. So, all in all, a dense, fascinating look at a key event that would change European and, in some respects, world history for the next half century or more, and something we're still dealing with today. As always, if you enjoy my rambling, feel free to like, comment, subscribe,